But man, the fact that we can dream Atlas is great going into the series.
Yep, reminder that the Lee Sin is once again banned. Of course, Lucid and Canyon, both fantastic Lee Sin players, but they'll have plenty of other things that they can get to. As Rumble and Nautilus already taken away, of course. Lehenz's Nautilus is absolutely terrifying. It's still probably the only Nautilus that we see being viable on the permaban list. And there is the Corki ban. That's surprising, isn't it, Chronicler? Because I don't know whether Chovy's played that much of it.
Yeah, interesting choice to ban...
He hasn't played 20 games of Corki yet this season, so I just find it weird that it's banned.
Yeah, the Choki jokes really make themselves in that regard.
Yeah.
Zyra also going to get taken away. It's interesting because Zyra doesn't even feel like it's the most oppressive, but I think that it specifically for GENG just works so well because Kane is a jungler that, as proactive as he is so good in optimizing invade timers, just getting max amounts of gold, and Zyra, I think, does that better than any other AP jungler, even the Brand, right, who takes a lot more time to get going, even the Karthus, who did really get nerfed on this patch. And this is really interesting, because I was actually thinking that that Nautilus ban was going to be one of the first things dropped in the subsequent because of the Renata specifically. But the fact that they are willing to ban the Renata is a huge shout-out to the form that Callan is in at the moment. This should come as no surprise. This Sejuani, Tristana swap is something that we've seen a lot of. Teams are very outspoken. Peanut said it yesterday as well. We don't feel like Sejuani right now has a real counter. And jungle matchup, insanely important. And to be fair, Showmaker, I'm excited to see what you've got cooked up. Because if this is like something basic, I'll be a little disappointed. Because you know this was coming.
I think it's one of the Wind Bros. And I only say one of them because Showmaker is a Yasuo guy.
Yeah.
You know? And Kingan's a Gragas guy. And that's a tree. And this is what we saw banned a lot yesterday. Canyon, one of our resident Ivern players, a friend of the forest, if you will. And so this could put a bit of a spanner in the works for D+, because we know how weird it is to play into a lot of these Ivern compositions, especially when it is paired up with the Tristana. Zeri going to be locked away, though, for aiming. And Showmaker is going to hover Syndra for a little bit, but I don't know. Are they just going to lock away the bottom lane? Is it just going to be Zeri Rakan here on this rotation and then try to pick something weird for their solo lanes?
Could be Zeri Lulu as well. I actually think that with the form that we're in right now, Kingan and Showmaker are really hard to consistently ban out. So I wouldn't necessarily mind it. This is in line with the priorities that we've seen. I quite like this because it forces GENG right now to either pick an AD carry, which is what I think you'd want to do. With the Ivern, you really want to make sure that you have two great carries to go with it. Tristana already is going to feel amazing, but kind of want to add to that. But that does take away your opportunity to get access to the best counters to Gnar. It's going to be the Leona instead. So Lehenz's picking that one up isn't extremely high tier support right now. Does make me think that the Braum is definitely going to be on the ban list here, given that playing into Sejuani Braum when you're looking to play a double AD carry composition is not fun. Don't want that.
No. So
that's a must ban, I imagine.
I mean, that's a must ban, but there's a lot of things that they probably want to take away from Showmaker as well. The Azir, certainly one of them, but maybe you want to ban the Yone. I know that Chovy is pretty capable in almost any matchup ever. And so the mid lane doesn't necessarily need as much attention, but Showmaker is so much of the power for D+ that you do need to address it. And that's what they're going to start with here. D+, I think an Ezreal Ashe ban or Kai'Sa is another one that I guess is just fine. Wanting to try and take away from sort of these hybrid bottom lanes, and I'm kind of, is it a Ziggs angle? I know, like, it's Orcs' day off, right? So someone needs to do it.
It could be. I don't love it as much in all.
I guess there is a Zeri, so it can't really be that much of a Ziggs.
Yeah, that's that's part of it. I imagine the Ezreal ban comes in next if they're also willing to ban the Kai'Sa, unless they're happy to play into Ezreal, which I think is one of the strongest AD carries at the moment. The fact that they don't ban Braum, though, is really remarkable. I think with the Sejuani, you do have Engage. It's not alone, not the best, you know, it's consistent, but
yeah, there's the edge.
They might look to just go towards like Rel here. That's something that we often see when all the other Engage supports have been taken off the board. Ashe, you already mentioned, I think is a strong pick in isolation, but I do think she can really struggle when playing into things like the Zeri that come late game just blow her up in seconds, don't really give her a lot of opportunity. As there is the GP, yeah, that's actually, as we said earlier, my expectation was that DK was going to pick the Gnar and then ban away some of the counters. Not going to be the case. So we're going to obviously trust Keen on GP. That's kind of a no-brainer. And there could still be a chance that the Tristana, you know, gets flexed, depending what the counter pick is that's locked in as... Oh, boy.
That would be pretty fabulous. A bit of Taric here. We did see Beryl already play that one. Showmaker, of course. The Taliyah is up, and so he's going to pick it. That's going to be his choice into the Tristana. We've seen this matchup actually go pretty well for the Taliyah at the same time, and it is Showmaker's most played. Has about a 75% win rate on the champion as well. Has looked pretty good.
So I like it in isolation and what you want to do. The matchup is fine, but I do worry that the Sejuani is going to have a really tough time having the impact. I think the mid-jungle matchup is so important. It's going to be the Alistar instead. Kalin has had a very big range of Alistar performance. Recently, he's been trending towards very great. So
if you started watching him in 2024, you'd think he's a pretty amazing Alistar player.
And it is actually going to be
And there's the Ziggs. Okay.
Yeah, as you were saying. So even with the Ivern, traditionally we see this with double AD carry. Not going to be the case. Going to be the Ziggs here instead. You have a insane amount of AD with the Gangplank anyway. So, and because you have Tristana, I still think you get plenty of value. It's really interesting, Atlas. I look at these two compositions, and I think that if DK don't blow up the game in mid to early, even with aiming being on Zeri, like, it becomes so hard to play. Because trying to engage on a composition with Gangplank, Ziggs, and Ivern, that's not a good time. That's not going to be fun. The barrels, the bombs, the brushes.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, the BBB's not looking too easy to deal with. And I want to go back to what we were talking about before the draft came up, you know, leaning in to what D+ are good at and having these compositions that find synergy so incredibly well. We saw a lot of this a couple of days ago, and I don't see that as much with this one. I feel like this was a draft about taking Sejuani from Canyon, taking Zeri from Pays, you know, and giving Kingen a matchup that he can sort of weather the storm in instead of having those checkmate moments that we have seen from this team in the past. So a little bit worried on that front. Still very strong champions here, and if they can get it done, then I will be incredibly proud nonetheless. As GENG, I mean, this is... They've got the Ziggs for the magic damage. They've got the barrels coming out of the brushes that Canyon's going to be throwing down, and that is Tristana in the mid lane. This is a very, very scary game for D+ Kia. Let's see whether they can get it done. So we hop into the Rift. Man, that is some Saturday Showdown vibes right there. As we have got the full group up on this top side of the map. Kingen a little bit going rogue right now, but everyone is just seeing whether a cheeky first blood was on the menu. It turns out that that wasn't what was offered today, but that's fine. Sometimes you don't get the specials that you want. And GENG are going to slink back into their jungle now. Man, I'm so intrigued because we've seen, like yesterday, the Gangplank pick into the Gnar went very, very well. Even though, you know, the Gnar can still lane relatively okay, the Gangplank does just tend to have a little bit more value there. And we'll see whether Keen is going to once again be able to find it. Because I just love that the Pirate is back, man. It's just so good to have a bit of added variety. You know, Gnar we saw a lot, but after just Cassante Skarner every single game for like the first 4 weeks of the LCK.
Yeah, no,
I'm so happy.
We really have sacrificed mid lane matchups being fun for top lane matchups being fun. You know, Skarner had to go, and it's really opened things up. Looking at these drafts, I again want to reiterate, to me this stands or falls for DK, but whether they can find a lot of mid to early game advantages through Showmaker roaming specifically. If you go back to the games between these two teams, there's a very consistent pattern of Showmaking just dropping waves, naturally falling behind Chovy, but kind of making up for it by having a really big impact inside. And I think that's what we're going to be looking here towards as well. When you look at the DK comp, in isolation, I think it's an incredible composition, right? Like, obviously the top side is a little bit disjointed when it comes to getting full value out of the Sejuani. A little bit tough, which Gnar is technically melee half the time, but realistically it's hard to play around that because you'll play back, you know, when Mega Gnar is available, and then Taliyah is self-explanatory, even though you have the setup. with Lucid. But specifically, how much can Showmaker get done? Can they find, you know, punishes on Pays and Lands? I think Pays and Lands have really stepped it up ever, you know, since aside, but there was a time where they were one of the weak points. Ooh, Kellen.
Yeah, in a bit of trouble here. The Ignite already down. Kellen's going to have to walk it off in his pajamas. Is Canyon making his way over? Let's see whether Showmaker is going to fall to his ex-teammate. There's the rocket jump to come in. Seismic Shove is gorgeous, though, after the rocks set that one up. And Chovy, yeah, he gets a little shield here from Canyon, but not even able to actually win out on the trade. And look at that, the cannon goes over to Showmaker. I think he's got his eye in today, Chronicler, and that is definitely good news if you guys wanted to bang a series.
He has to be the best Showmaker he can be for DK to win here today. And that was very funny because it's always Showmaker aggroing on Canyon, and then Canyon actually goes for the gank on him.
Yep.
It doesn't end up working out, but
Canyon is a bit of a, I'm going to let my in-game do the talking rather than doing any of the talking. But this isn't talking. This is a whole lot of action here as Lehent's going to get headbutted back. That was a gorgeous seismic shove, and the bouncing bomb avoided by the cow. Kellen, good use of the walk strategy, and is able to get himself out of there. Still has to use the flash, and Pays is already really scary.
Nicely done there by Pays. Gets the knockback there with the bomb, ensuring that Kellen almost goes down as Canyon says hello again.
Yep, another shove is going to come on through there, but Canyon going to be able to close that gap. No rocks on the ground.
That's a big win. Showmaker just used his TP. Yeah, now, that's a really good punish there from Chovy. And yeah, Showmaker will get a bit of a trade back. But so what happens is Showmaker uses cooldowns, and even though Canyon is a little bit early because Chovy's TPing in, he doesn't get the, you know, the auto while Canyon found his route. Immediately afterwards, Chovy jumps in. Showmaker steps up a little bit too far, and now is forced into another immediate back, and he can't even get the full health back because he needs to catch his wave. And Kellen introduced a little bit of volatility here. I do love that. That's what they need. Canyon's on his way, though.
Yeah, it was Satchel charged out of the pasture, and now he's looking for a pirate as the barrels come in. There's the headbutt back. Pulverize is good, and Keen, this is going to be a tough one. Not able to quite find it is Canyon there. There's the flash out. Kingen still wants it, but he won't quite get there. The brushes are set up, and in fact, he just creates a forest up here. Still gets the flash. Good news for D+ regardless.
Successful roam, but the timing from Canyon impeccable there. And yeah, I think Kingen was hesitating there for a moment. If he flashes for the final auto, I think the hyperproc might have been enough. But if it backfires, you're down your flash.
Ooh, the anti-buffer.
Really nicely done there by Showmaker. But yeah, if you flash and like Ivan has his shield available again, you are in deep troubles. Oh my god!
Yeah, okay, so Showmaker's gonna flash the Flash Zenith Blade coming from Lehent's. Really nicely done. And he is being tested over and over again. And he's still finding these shoves. There's a big old rock being thrown into Chovy in this lane. Starting to turn here for Showmaker.
The big thing, though, is that Showmaker was still forced back. Keen's wave is in a kind of an awkward spot here. Is actually, I think, kind of in the middle between whether it was pushing towards Kingen or not, but he's going to go Mega, and I imagine look for a slow push back into him. Without the flash available, Gangplank, even with his CC cleanse, is really susceptible, so Keen really can't stand to be up too much. So again, huge credit to Kellen for that roam. And then in mid, because of the earlier play from Kane and all the attention being paid, Showmaker is about a wave behind, but that's not the end of the world. And I think right now, DK looking good in absorbing the early pressure from GENG, but I do think they need more than that, and we'll see if they're actually able to get that. As 6 is available, aiming is going to be a lot stronger. Kellen's roams, though, do mean that he's pretty substantially far behind on experience.
Yep, going to be the grubs taken here. Looks like GENG will be happy to trade that one for this first dragon. Going to be an Infernal to come up first. Although Canyon is now just going to head down towards the bottom side, collect his level 6 so that Daisy can help him out. Thank you very much, Pays, for that one. And now Lucid looking for a dive. Cannon Barrage comes in from Keen. Just on the wave here for the moment. Lucid's going to have to flash to get himself out of the way. Orange is going to be eaten to get him out of prison. And now Lucid gets over the wall, but it's not going to keep him alive. And first blood goes to Lehent's. And in the meantime, GENG are taking the dragon.
Oh, GENG are reading D+ like a book there. Again, the timing from these reinforcements towards Keen, the lone pirate,
yeah,
lonely no more, gets help in 2 crucial points. And It makes sense. The biggest weakness that you have with GP is how easy it is to dive once you lose control, right? Either if you're too far up the lane, or even with your cleanse, if you don't have flash available. But 2 times in a row now, reinforcements arrive. First was Canyon, now it's Lahens. This time the kill does go over to Lahens, which is unfortunate. Keen obviously would have really liked that because he does still pay with a good amount of his health bar, is still behind in CS. But as long as Gangplank gets the Sid, get XP, eventually he's going to get to the point where it's really hard to keep him down. As take another look. Yep. Being cleared relatively quickly, and then, yeah. I think they knew the moment that they weren't able to get on top of Keen fast enough. And the moment Lahens show up, you know it's done.
And you also know that Keen isn't that happy that Lahens got the kill.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes Ignites go down, though, and they are required to guarantee the kills. See whether King can get another one. So far, though, still just playing triage here. You can see Kingen, with the fact that he didn't actually have to go back or anything like that, and it was Lucid getting picked off, but Keen's health bar still suffered, you can see that the CS margin is only extended, and this aggression is still there, wanting to collect that first plate up here towards the top side. And the Gnar doing what it says on the tin as far as early lane control, at least.
That's looking good. Dragon also, as mentioned, has gone over to GENG.
Ooh. Aiming, doing his favorite thing. Farming alone in a side lane, trying to get all of that money so that he can have those items and carry in the late game. I mean, it's bread and butter on the bottom side of the map for D+. Oh, yeah. Just have to see whether Aiming's actually going to be able to have the same impact into a very difficult team composition to play into, right? Especially if you're a low-range AD carry. I do not envy Aiming's position, and in fact, Envy's playing in the next match, not this one. So
nice.
That would make some sense.
Good segue there.
Yeah,
really, you have to build up the hype.
I know, it's all about setting up for the Saturday Showdown.
This series is good, but you know, real LCK fans will stick around as Canyon finds a window here.
Yep, Daisy making her way in. There's the hop. Actually just going to get set up here, and it looks like Kingen will be absolutely fine. Just wanders through the minion wave and not going to be able to get those basketballs in a row, or at least enough to take down the Gnar. So nicely done.
Something that's noteworthy, we haven't talked about this yet, is the fact that not all grubs were taken, so the respawn is actually really late. Lucid only was able to get 2 earlier. With Lahens. Doesn't quite fight Kingen.
Lahens is doing his I'm everywhere man thing again. I mean, this is something that he actually pioneered on Leona, I think it was last year, where he would just vacate the lane and say, Pays, just deal with it. This time, Pays has teleport, he zigs, very happy to be alone in a side lane. I think it's actually the perfect sort of moment for Lahens to really readopt this playstyle that he did popularize. He has been all over the place. Now, Keen's in a lot of trouble, but there's the cannon barrage. Yeah, Lahens just going to cancel the back, and the flash now has to be used from Kingen. Teleport invested by Chovy as well, though. So flash for teleport, and now Showmaker with a lot of space in mid.
Yeah, Kingen, I don't think flashes if the teleport doesn't get channeled, because he was about to hit Mega, and Lahens being there alone is not enough. I think through Mega, you just knock him into the war, you'll be able to get out. But if you get CC'd while Chovy is there, then it'd be big. And this actually nice here for DK, opportunity to get themselves a plate. Not much more than that, but it is still going to tilt the gold favor back in favor of them. Looking at the itemization as well, Lucid does not have his first item done. Obviously a very, very cheap one. Same here for Pays, who one of the big benefits of Ziggs is that, you know, even pre-first item you're feeling great, but now you can just basically sit here underneath this turret forever and be completely fine. But it does mean Aiming finds a small gold lead off of the back of that plate, as Canyon is going to be taking this grub. It looks like we are not going to see high grub numbers this time around. This next Drake is huge here for DK. I really think that this is an objective that you need to get. There's no cannon barrage, at least for right now. I think it will be available around the time. We'll see if Showmaker is able to make his impact known. If you can, you know, isolate a target, blow them up, even though against the Ivern that can be quite tough. That could be the angle here for DK.
And the thing that I'm really interested in is Lucid wasn't contested on grubs in the first place. I think they left them up on purpose, just to try to deny GENG from getting any at all, right? So it's only one grub sort of available because he got there so late, and then the demolition comp doesn't have access to it. As Canyon gonna flash the wrong direction, isn't actually hit by the Glacial Prism, but the wall is put up in front of him. Still, he's got shields for days, and Showmaker will be taken down. I don't know how it worked, but it worked. and GENG will grab their second kill of the game, and this may not be all they're going to get as well. Pulverize comes in, Blast Cone is taken, and the cow is left by the wayside. Paze is going to pick up that kill, and GENG, it's a wash here as far as the kills are concerned.
Oh, Canyon taking a page out of Kellen's book.
Right.
Flashing into the play. That was a really pivotal moment right there. If they get the kill on Canyon, that snowballs into the Dragon. Instead, it's a disaster. Chovy arrives. Showmaker ends up going down, and crucially, Kellen doesn't even get out. Him and Lucid on a bit of a mistimer there. Lucid taking a Blast Cone just a second too early. And right now, GENG building further ahead. And I want to, again, reiterate, even going for Canyon here, it's a bit of a tough timing. But if you actually are able to kill him, it would be huge. The big thing is that Showmaker, though, opts to not use his combo on Canyon, which I think is fair, because Chovy's literally on top of him. But if Chovy's there, I don't think...
If aiming's there, right? If any damage is there to try and kill the other.
But instead, and even then, I think it might backfire relatively quickly. The reason why Ziggs is so strong in these situations as well, and it's something we haven't really talked about yet, is the double global. Any skirmish that you take, like between the Ziggs, which isn't really a global, but the range is still huge, and you have a lot of setup between the Leona as well as the Ivern.
There are circles. There are circles.
There's a
placed
lot
on the
of
ground.
circles. So I think DK need to go for a play like that, just not that one. So puts them in an awkward position. Not the end of the world just yet, but definitely a big win for GENG.
Yep, and these dragons are starting to stack up as well. Oh, is it Earth, Wind, and Fire? That would be a beautiful way to start off our Saturday showdown, would it not? Let's see whether we can all celebrate with it. And it's not. It's Chemtech. And of course, it's Orcs' day off, so he's probably, you know, off doing things and not paying attention. And this is what happens. This is what happens. It's fine. He was also at work yesterday, and it still happened multiple times. Just a lot of Chemtech these days.
We've been very toxic here in the LCK.
Yeah, it's been very toxic.
We need to talk about it, because I don't like toxicity, Atlas.
I know.
It's not a surprise. And
we're doing what we can, you know. We
try.
Yeah, we at least censor by saying K-word, you know, which I think is great. We did that today, but it's still, obviously, you can see in the Dragons, still too toxic. That's what Runeterra is telling us.
We need to be even nicer to our team.
We do.
Maybe Showmaker is the problem, you know. He was bringing all that aggression.
I know, with the punchy thing as well that he does.
Summoner's Rift is saying, chill out, man. Give it a rest.
Oh, Showmaker going to come and catch this wave towards bottom side. Chovy just seeing what he can find.
Yeah,
he's going to find a cow.
What we were talking about earlier, which just naturally happens in this matchup very often, and I mean, Chovy does that in general, is the slowly starting to pull further and further ahead when it comes to the CS. Going to be up about 3 waves once this one is taken, and that Tristana is going to become a really, or already is, a really big menace if you ever leave her alone inside. It's not going to be an issue that's easy for DK to fix, because again, I think that they want to look for a numbers advantage with the Taliyah, try and isolate a target, blow them up, and then you can create space for aiming.
Seismic shove, almost connecting there, is now Chovy going to get interrupted! Not able to buffer over that wall, and there goes, even through the redemption, the Tristana. Now Lucid wants even more. Daisy not able to find Bristle and Sejuani, and the seismic shove is flashed, but already the threaded volley is following Canyon. Still keeps himself up, does have those shields, and D+ finally on the board.
Big kill there for D+. That alone, not going to be enough. No objective can be taken off of the back of this. They should be able to get a good amount of damage, though, towards the bot side turret. These are the catches that you want to be looking for. You have so much CC on this composition with the Sejuani, the Taliyah, the Alistar. We see it there. The problem is, I don't think they're actually going to be... This is what we talked about earlier. Again,
the siege defense is pretty silly as Canyon's going to come down, teleport coming in as well, but there's the seismic shove. Arctic Assault going to connect, Headbutt Pole as Kellen gets the welcome, but Showmaker is in so much trouble. Chovy going to be able to finish him off, and now the damage is gone, and Lehens obviously is here. Chovy going to answer back immediately, but Kingen, he's teleported in. Lehens not a whole lot of direction to go, and he is going to be taken down as well. So in the end, a pretty even trade between the two. Chovy's revenge, important.
Unfortunately for DK, though, they invest a lot of people towards this, which means that Keen, who is very far behind in the 1v1, and Kingen is going to be even further after display. Keen gets to actually play a little bit of catch-up here in the top side of the map. Going to be able to just parlay his barrels to his heart's extent. Not going to get the turret, as the TP from Showmaker does come in. I think good on Keen to back off there, also just prior to his Triforce spike. Couple of key picks being found there as we go back all the way to this one. And I love this from DK. I think this is how they need to play. Really nicely done there. With Tristana, I feel like you can feel like you have so much heat, which you do. If he flashes there, it would be fine, but instead tries to get the W off. And then there, Lucid, that flash, bit unfortunate. If he gets one more auto off on Canyon, they just kill him up front earlier. And then here, like the damage that's being done just by, you know, earlier you had the ultimate from Ziggs, now you have the ultimate come in from Keen as well. It means his health bars are very low, so Chovy can just jump in, stomp on a target, get a kill. And this is, I'd argue, still a pretty favorable trade here for GENG just because of the fact that
the top lane,
get the mid lane turret as well, right? Ziggs left alone in the side lane. And really, the more I think about it, outside of Canyon not being on a carry and really being an enabler, you have so much wave control and so much tools to help you.
It's just an everything control composition.
No, it is.
GENG. That's why it looked so incredibly impossible to play into.
So, you know, side wave in a bad position, just throw a Pazel on top of it. They're shoving while you don't have movement on the other side of the map.
Oh, that wasn't enough cannon barrage.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you make one bad read on a fight, and you get disengaged on, and Chovy's in the sideline, like, that's your inner gone. So I think DK have been doing a good job so far to keep this even. The question is just, can they fight the fight that they're looking for? Because I do want to again highlight, like, this DK comp scales insanely well until the end of the game, right? Like, you have yeah, I mean,
what?
Yeah, well, you have compositions that stop scaling at some point.
Yeah, what, like when the Nexus explodes? I think every composition stops scaling at that point, Chronicler. I think you might be right there.
Okay, well, it's taking you 20 minutes, but you... Okay, let's talk about the Dragons being taken here.
This is the whole point.
You're looking for the team fight here, SDK.
Yeah. King ain't going to jump into the brush here. Doesn't have a lot of Naba, but still, they're looking for their opportunity, and this is that control that we were talking about. In the meantime, Keen and Showmaker are just doing battle. Seismic Shove gets the Pirate over the wall, and he gets the solo kill. Can they find the team fight, though, elsewhere? And the answer looks like absolutely not, as Kellen going to be taken down, turned into a stake as Kingen, he gets to Meganar, but it's way too late. It's all over.
That's the problem with these Meganar compositions, and there I think you're seeing the problem for DK. If you don't find an early mid-game lead, you just don't have the damage. Yeah. Showmaker isn't there, he's one of your biggest damage sources. And then on the flip side, aiming isn't that strong yet. If this is a 6-item Zeri, and all the space that's there, he can jump in, make something happen, that could be an angle, but we're starting to see GENG slowly come out as
yeah, the smite comes in. Aiming is already skated towards this top side, and he's going to get through this wall as well. So getting the catch onto Keen, absolutely massive here. And T+, they're not going to allow the Lehens effect where the support steals the kill, because every kill goes to aiming if possible.
And in this case, it really should. If that was Showmaker, you know, maybe there's a bit of a gray area. As we take another look at this fight here, and I think you're really seeing the issue. It's so hard to engage on this composition with the vision denial that they have, and then a lot of damage goes into Lucid, doesn't end up mattering, but they don't have Meganar until it's already too late. And like, GENG plays the kite back so cleanly, because they just want to throw bombs, have Chovy auto, and Canyon shield off all the harassers. We didn't get a look as to how this happened. Oh yeah, that's a classic.
And Showmaker knew exactly what was, you saw, like he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to stop this. Probably could have seismic shoved the other direction.
That's what, yeah, that would have definitely.
But I think he realized that he messed up very quickly and started trying to run.
This is such a big catch though. Like this actually, I think, makes a really big difference because it gets gold into aiming. I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to at least shove in the top wave as well, deny a good amount of farm to GENG. And that alone, not going to win the game, but this catch at least keeps them in them after Soul Point has been set up. And we talk about, you know, Chemtech Soul not being that valuable. I can guarantee you, when you're playing into Ivern, you don't want them to also have Chemtech Soul. And you don't want them to have extra healing and shielding power, because it's not going to be a good time.
And we saw there as well, I mean, the Ivern Leona is such a great combination. Like, land the Root Caller, and then all of a sudden, Leona doesn't have to hit a Zenith Blade, and you just, it's basically just point-and-click CC. Yeah. Because you get into melee range, and you press Shield of Daybreak, and they just get stunned. And then you can Zenith Blade to somebody else to get another one. So it's pretty nutty. Okay, there's the Glacial Prison. That's going to get soaked by Lehens, but He's still going to have to flash that wall to get out. Cannon Barrage comes in, and look at this. Kellen taking so much damage, has to flash to get out of the Solar Flare. And GENG, in the end, I think it's relatively even as far as the exchange is concerned, as now Chovy flashes the headbutt, Pulverize. The Mega Inferno Bomb comes down. That's going to finish off the cow. Daisy falls in amongst it all as the Buster Shot gets Showmaker out of there. Lucid in so much trouble. He's going to get thrown around like a ragdoll, but now Kingen gets the crush. Okay, finally Lehens is going to go down. And D+, they get some control back, but they're still going to lose the trade.
That's the problem. Like, DK keep getting scraps, but GENG are the one eating well. And here, yeah, they lose Lehens. Who cares? Baron is going to get taken. We're going to see the TP come in. They're going to try and contest this as well as they can. I think it's gone. You can't approach. Look at the vision control. Look at the brushes.
This is these two Yordles, the Demolition Yordles, pretty good, even at taking down a Baron. Is now Showmaker wanting to get some scraps. Traps them in the wall, actually, as Keen is going to get knocked over. But this is just Operation Escape from GENG, and they might just take themselves a prehistoric Yordle with them on their way out. Keen going to be the sacrificial pirate, and he's going to say "arr," and then it's going to be absolutely fine as GENG walk away with 4 Barons intact.
Oh, DK, they're clinging onto this game, Atlas. They're not letting go. Here we see the problem. Like, obviously, this is Lehens, so not the ideal target. And you see, just don't have enough damage to kill him in what is all their CC cooldowns.
It's a lot of choke point opted into when it's a Ziggs.
Also that. Yeah, but I understand them. Like, again, I think they need to play for these type of catches. Then Chovy goes full psycho, ends up, you know, still being fine because, again, they have so much innate safety. You can play this aggressive. Hayes actually playing the Ziggs really well. Like, his repositions, I think, have been standout. And then, yeah, Lehens ended up going down, but in the grand scheme of things, nobody really cares about that. The only good thing, again, for DK is that Aiming gets an exit kill. Really nice warrior by Showmaker, actually making big use of the teleport. But it's what we talked about. If GENG get to a late game, like, Showmaker's down 2 levels to Chovy, right? Like, they're taking these tiny moments, but it's just not enough. GENG just keeps lumbering ahead, further and further, slow and steady.
Yeah, and it's every single trade that is just a bit in favor of GENG or a lot, right? It's D+ just fighting to not have it be completely doomed. And it's still feeling a little bit like that.
A one more combo like 3k gold, that's surmountable, but they're going to need to fight of a lifetime to win this one. Aiming has his IE done. That's a huge free item power spike, but the poke from Pays, the barrels that have to be avoided, DK are going to have to find a monster fight. Or they just let this go. And, you know, flip it on Elder. Maybe that's the angle now.
Maybe. I mean, Chemtech you already illustrated. I mean, as far as compositions that can use it, this is a pretty good one. Is now Keen going to find a barrel onto King, and thankfully, that is not the rest of D+ as well. His health bar is still pretty large.
Either Keen. Only sitting on 2.5.
Hextech Minefield is actually going to go down. And GENG just holding onto the dragon here, but look at this poke. It is just nuts. And there's the Cannon Barrage. That's going to buy them some space and some time on this Drake. As Chovy gets over, he's put into prison immediately. Kingen wants to be able to find it, and there's the shove from over the wall. But this time the rocket jump gets down. And now the aiming on the flank angle? I'm not sure about that one. Chovy's going to get a reset and blow him up. And D+ are just falling one after the other. And that is going to be a clean ace outside of Pays getting taken down somewhere in the interim. GENG just making it look easy.
Oh, DK, that was a bit disjointed. Showmaker used this wall, but actually had to go all the way around. So yeah, he got the flick on Chovy, but that alone, not enough. They were trying to set up for Aiming, but they were just too far behind already. And it's a lose-lose situation. You can't get this Drake, you can't eat the poke, but engaging on this comp is a nightmare as well. So what happens here is like they get, and oh, Kellen, if he doesn't headbutt Chovy away there, I think they might have been able to kill him. I don't know if that would have been enough by itself, but if you don't actually 100-0 someone, they're not dying. Like, Ivan's going to keep them alive. That is going to be the end of that game number 1. The Nexus hasn't just fallen yet. No, DK still keep on scaling.
Yeah, they still exist. The scaling is not stopped yet.
But I don't think this is looking good here. And I think in game number 2 we're going to see something entirely different from DK. I think they're going to, this was the basic game, you know, this was the more standard game. I think they have to go wacky.
And I also think that these double tree bans that we've seen coming through are a good idea. I think when a team can play these Ivan comps I don't think you ever want to deal with it. It's so frustrating when they get online, when they start working, and when it's GENG, who just naturally have a sense of inevitability. Man, it must be almost impossible playing into a composition like this, that once it gets its claws in, it does not let go. And that is what we're seeing right now. Even though there was some heroics, there were more on the side of GENG. As Lehens, he's flashing for it. You know that he's going to look for it, and he does so. Showmaker going to have to answer in kind. That is going to be in a turret falling down. And the bad news for D+ does not stop there, as GENG look to move towards the mid lane now. I mean, on the other side, all right, glass half full.
Yeah,
right?
hit the Atlas.
Bounty goal, baby.
Yeah.
If D+, catch GENG, you know, needing a bathroom break or something like that, they're not at their computers, then perhaps there's a way back in.
Okay, I thought you were going to be genuine.
No, I'm not. It's very doomed.
Okay, they'll get... I said it before, but if GENG make a mistake, which you don't often do, we might get a situation where maybe you flip... Okay, hear me out. So,
give it to me.
DK somehow make sure that GENG don't get Nash. That's problem number one. Even though they're getting poked down, and GENG definitely is going to try to do Nash. Don't give them Nash. Okay, then you just hold on to that. And at some point, GENG's going to decide to play Elder. He flipped for Elder, aiming at 4 items. He one-taps everyone.
Okay, well, we've got supportal combat here, but Canyon is going to make that one an unfair fight. Kingan's already down to 50%, but the Nalbar is in a decent position. This could be a fight that they're looking for, but Kellen taking so much damage. He's going to take Lehens with him. The Mega Inferno Bomb comes down. The circles, ladies and gentlemen, as Solar Flare and the Satchel Charger, too good. Pays is going to lock him down. Chovy flashes out of the Seismic Shove, gets himself the trigger seed. He's not dying. Canyon's going to help out his mid laner. And D+, I mean, it almost got close to being pseudo-okay, but it absolutely was not in the end. And GENG, I don't think they need this Baron. They're just going to win the game.
No Baron needed. No illustrious Elder flip. Just good old-fashioned team fighting. GENG, see how far ahead they are. They realize the angles, and GENG will still not drop a single game in the LCK Atlas. DK gonna have to go back to drawing board for game number 2.
Yep, they'll have side selection once again, and we'll see whether they're going to be able to figure out a way around a composition like that again, because this, I mean, Zeke's Tristana already feels really, really tough to play into when they get any sort of map control, but Canyon's ability to manipulate these fights on the Ivern alongside Lehens, who was actually everywhere on this map, looked absolutely impossible.
And I think Chovy had too much power in that game. We saw what happens when you give him too much power. It's not fun. And
he's
really,
been unlocked. They banned the Corki.
And the players were very vocal about this interviews. This is the lessons that they learned from that loss. It's so insanely obvious that they changed their priorities in what is good right now on this patch.
Yep.
And we can see it paying dividends by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah, and you can see the damage graph is just, it's a bigger version on GENG's side. But D+ did try their best to keep themselves even throughout this game, as you can see in that goal graph. But it's just edging ever so slightly towards GENG as the game goes on. And we knew that as far as the scaling was concerned, they were going to get it done. The scaling is stopped, though, because the Nexus has exploded. It's time for us to go for a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break it down. Then we'll have game number 2. We'll see you there.
볼게.
알리스타부터 우리 알리 본데. 일단 알리부터 볼게.
야 이거 팔기로 해 팔기로
알리 봐줄래?
항상 조심.
이거 우리 빨리 좀 안 돼, 빨리 봐. 빨리 안
아
돼.
괜찮아. 야, 이 시합 따주면서 해, 시합 따주면서. 아. 제리 대가만 줘. 자, 이긴 거 같아. 세주. 넘길게. 살려 놓고 나 이거 갈게.
잠깐만.
아, 네.
이거 옆에 나를 조심해. 나를 조심하고. 가는 중. 나 가는 중. 가도 돼.
알아지?
이거 체리 공 끝났다.
나 넘길게.
가자.
점프 해줘. 야, 여기까지 하고 미드로 가면
끝날 것 같아.
끝나.
It's just been my new thing, and I'm into it. And speaking of being into things, here's the draft.
Going into this draft, we're going to see a couple of different things. I really don't want to see the Sejuani priority. I think Lucid looked really rough on the pick.
Yep.
And I do think he looks much better on proactive junglers than he does on junglers like the Sejuani. His Maokai, like, it's gotten better, but it's not going to be enough to beat GENG. You're going to need to swing for the fences, and if I'm seeing Showmaker look like that, I think that that's what's coming. I was actually anticipating them maybe going the red side to try and find a different angle, find better matchups, but they got to swap it up in the draft. I really like the Tristana ban. You know, I think you either have to first pick it, or you have to ban it. And the Corki is self-explanatory given the priority that GENG has had on this. And we'll see what DK is going to purchase. I imagine they're just going to go for the Sejuani again. And if they do pick Sejuani, then please, this is not Lusa's best pick. At least pick picks that go with it.
Yeah.
Get Yone,
We
get
saw
Jax,
yesterday. Yeah, we saw yesterday just
Renekton.
how well you can play around a Sejuani pick. Humble Life Esports, and they do it probably the best, right? Because they've got the Zeka Yone.
Oh, for
but
sure.
Showmaker's a Yone player as well. We know that he can play this. I mean, he pioneered just picking Yasuo with Sejuani compositions to make that one work as well. Like, this is something that they can certainly do. I want to see just like 2-3 on blue side, just pick Gragas Yasuo and say, we're just going to send it.
Oh my, that's
what I want.
That's not going to happen. If anything, it will be Gragas Yone, because now the Azir gets locked in. Here for Chovy, I think the Ivern is still pretty certain to follow. Again, GENG in their interviews, they were saying, guys, but this...
Oh, Canyon Italy.
Yeah, the Zyra was also available, but Canyon's going to have some fun. Showmaker's like, haha, I won Worlds with that. That's scary.
Yeah.
Knows better than anyone else. Obviously, the reason why Nidalee came up in the first place, it's an insanely strong matchup.
But he also, I think Showmaker knows, Canyon can always lose on the Nidalee.
You know.
Yeah.
You know very well. And I also want to highlight that Nidalee Azir is not, that doesn't get people going the way that Tristana Ivern did. It's not
this Zeri also not getting me going either. I don't know. I feel like
just not Gnar.
Amy's got plenty of champion pool to get through. I think there are other priorities that they can go towards, and I don't. Yeah, like you say, I don't think it's the Gnar angle.
I love Yone. I think Yone is a great pick here. It works well with the Sejuani. It might get banned away. Otherwise, that's a melee character that Showmaker loves. I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's the Taliyah again. So again, I want to reiterate. I think Taliyah is a really strong pick, even with the changes.
Pretty good into Azir too.
It's good into Azir. Like, we know that this matchup has a lot of value. It's just that again, and after that match, even more so. Lucid Showmaker is whether or not you're going to win this game. Because if they don't step up against Canyon Chovy, I think GENG's too good outside of that. I think their wave states are too good. I think their macro's too good. As it's going to be not the Gnar blind, which we've seen a lot of, and you can even go Gnar blind and then protect it.
No, you could pick Leona.
Also do that, yeah.
Why didn't they do that?
I don't know. I guess they just want to make sure Keen has a better time than Game 1, which even, like, I want to, again, everyone to think back to that and how bad it could have been if Canyon and Lahens didn't save him twice. Because that was one of the big gambits that was taken by DK in the last game that didn't end up working out. The Cassante, I kind of wonder what DK is going to look towards to play into that. We'll see what it ends up being.
I mean, there are a few options that King can go towards. We already mentioned things like the Gragas, but the Aatrox certainly another one.
I feel like, yeah, Gragas, I don't think into Cassante is going to feel that great, because Gragas' one weakness is if he's playing into tanks and he goes AP, his damage I don't think is really sufficient. So I imagine that, like,
be the just Jax Sejuani angle.
Yeah, Jax, but they might ban Jax. Okay, ban Rakan instead. Yeah, then it's probably going to be Jax here for King. And also, as you're saying, Jax Sejuani. Jax is an acceptable matchup into the Cassante, as we again see the Rakan ban. And then with Leona also taken away, I wonder if they ban like Leona Alistar. The problem is that I think that GENG is going to anticipate a possible Lulu angle here for DK. And if you're anticipating a Lulu, then you just save counter pick and then Lehens can go with the Crank.
Well, they just banned the Crank.
Yeah, good
That's
call.
the one way to do it. I'm writing it down. Crank. There he goes. All right. Pays, what are we picking?
Ezreal.
Yeah.
I think, yes,
Yeah.
It's not interesting.
It's not inspiring. However, it does certainly seem well up there on the tier list. There's a Kai'Sa window here as well. No, it's too much magic damage. I think it might just be Ezreal. Or Senna. Okay. Senna going to be locked in. So Tahm Kench, Ornn, both up and available. And so Yuumi. Kellen.
It's going to be it's fine. So does Kingen pick Ornn here? Because you want to deny it. And like, it's fine into Cassandra, and Kingen was one of our best Ornns.
Maybe, wait, could they unironically
You go Lulu. No, you go Lulu Ornn.
They could actually just pick Tahm Kench Ornn though. And then just play Zeri Tahm Kench.
Okay, that's not the angle. I think Lulu makes
the Lulu was definitely going to happen.
I really like it. I think it also gives you even more engaged. Just Sejuani alone can be a little bit tough in some situations. Kingen's having a smile on his face. Though. It's going to be like Aatrox.
Or does he just play GP himself? That could be funny.
I
don't know whether he can eat enough oranges to get out of that.
The more I think about it,
the Camille?
That's
you want topside fire, topside power.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot more.
Yeah, Renekton's fine.
Yeah, it works. Still works. Like, Renekton to Leah, strong as we know.
And there's the Ornn.
Yeah, okay, that shouldn't come as a surprise. I would have loved the Ornn. I think the Ornn both gives you more engaged. The one downside is that you do become somewhat lacking in damage, and as good as Talia is, I don't feel like she has quite as much damage as something like an Azir would in late game fights, then you're really relying on Zeri.
And top lane priority is something that has been very important, and playing through something in the early game is going to be huge for D+, so a Renekton being up there and pairing so well with the Sejuani makes a lot of sense.
I like DK's angle way more, both from what they have in draft, and then also, I think Genji's composition is a lot clunkier this time. Like, obviously, if we get to late game, if Genji gets to do the Genji thing, the front to back of this composition, absolutely unrealistically good. You can poke away, you have a lot of sustain, you have great engage, etc. But this time around, I feel like I'm feeling much more likely that that top side is actually going to have prio.
It feels way more playable.
It really does, and that's not. And that's not a huge step up. But step up nonetheless.
Exactly. And in the last game, I feel like we had to take the D+ perspective throughout, because Genji kind of walked out of the draft with this this impossible to face style composition. So it had to be like, what can D+ do to buck the trend? But I actually think that in this game, it's a lot more honest, right? Yeah. And I think that even though we didn't necessarily like Sejuani Talia as far as that 2v2, Kingen and Lucid can get a lot done, especially if Kingen's able to stay on form like we saw in previous matches this week, or the previous match this week. And Canyon this time, it's not the Ivern for augmenting the team. He's going to have to be that one-man army in the early game to get control. Let's jump into the rift for game 2. Man, Lowpark absolutely erupting today. And we are on the Genji side as far as the our position and the caster desk is concerned, but D+ almost blew the roof off. Like, the man, fans out in force. It's absolutely fantastic.
At least just give us a game, DK.
I mean, so we have to ask. Do we have to? I mean, it's DK Genji.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I mean,
you're right.
Over the last 13 matches, we saw this in the graphic before. There's 13 games for 13 matches.
Yeah, I think they had 3 out of the 13 series not go all the way.
Yeah,
that's not a lot.
Yeah, I think there were 3 zeros on the DK side. Otherwise, like all of them.
It was 1 and 2.
And that means that there's a lot of 3-2 series as well.
I feel like we also have had an unreasonable amount of those involved us in increasingly funny scenarios.
Yeah, increasingly declining hair amount.
Yes, absolutely.
And things like that.
So coming into this game, what I want to see differently for DK is the top side control that they're able to get, Lucid's impact specifically, because I think that that's been a consistent issue for him, as good as he's been on some of the more aggressive characters. I think his Sejuani impact really hasn't been where it needs to be. And Sejuani is a character that can actually have a lot of early impact on the lanes because of how strong her ganks are. Her clear is quite good as well. And then secondly, aiming needs to sync up with the rest of the team because the early skirmishes, a lot of them felt like they could kind of be boiled. Yeah, we'll talk about this in a bit. Again, we're going to focus on DK because GENG haven't dropped a single game.
Yeah.
And if they're able to actually get something going in these early skirmishes and aiming gets fed the way it did in the last game by picking up these kills, then I think there is an opportunity. You also have Kellen on Lulu, so aiming will have a lot more agency. That all needs to happen though, because if GENG just gets to a mid game with Canyon, yeah,
21-6.
Okay, but to be completely fair, a lot of these champions you can just do this with GENG and it'll be dumb because they've been winning everything.
They have. I mean, with Canyon, it is a little bit of a dates back.
No, that one is legit. That one is real. The rest are...
Paze's ones feel very disingenuous because he doesn't know a season that he hasn't won. That's actually just a fact. It's the dumbest fact, but it's a fact. It's just a thing.
Yeah, the Nepo baby discourse when it comes to music.
Oh, okay, Kingen. Okay, Kingen. Just going to try and block Keen's approach here. As you can see, 5-1. The Shuriman battle feeling pretty croc-sided. Saw a demonstration of that there. Hitting level 4 here is Kingen. So Keen catching a wave now. And should be able to answer.
Also, didn't the Kingen Renaissance begin with him playing a couple of really good games of Renekton?
I think so.
If I remember, like, in spring this year, at the beginning, it was like, oh, Kingen. And then at some point, it was like, oh, Kingen?
Yeah.
I think, if I remember correctly, that there were at least a couple of big...
He's had a few Rumble games that have been pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, true. Well,
I think the first one that was very impressive was then not able to be translated into a win, and that was a little bit sad. But it's been slow and steady on the rise here for the top laner of D+. And as you can see, Canyon pays a bit of a visit up there, and Keen with control of the wave, and 17-27 is going to be the result as this wave finally moves towards Kingen now.
Should be relatively even. Kingen did get a couple of really good trades, but not enough by itself.
Well, imagine there's a lot of Q value.
Try and look for an early Black Cleaver into the amount of tankiness on the enemy team. And yeah, this is we've seen Renekton do this exact thing. EN, press W.
Oh no, miss cannon.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's painful. One of the big things that we saw in last game that isn't going to be an issue now is got cannon
is and then made enemy take turret shot. That's way better, isn't it, than missed cannon?
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, as I was saying, as Keen keeps distracted, this is actually a fun top lane matchup. That's I kind of want to highlight that.
I think we're just excited about it not being Skarner anymore.
Yeah, this will probably get old. It still has Cassante in it, but there's interaction happening.
Yeah,
which is why
they do fighting.
By the end of it, though, Kingen, I think, missed a couple of creeps too many. Also had to back off for a little bit because
Owie. As Trophy's going to get flashed into, does have to get away as that's first blood, and nothing Canyon can do about it. Doesn't find the spear, but even if he did, that would have been doomed. That is a much better start for D+.
DK, really big win. Bit unfortunate. I don't think they both had to flash. One of the flashes would have been enough. But they didn't want to run the risk of Canyon like getting the heal off and then Chovy wandering off into the distance. Big moment though. Again, Lucid, Showmaker, they need to step up if you want to beat GENG. And that is a really big win. That topside getting ahead right from the get-go, getting a kill after TP is already down. Really, really important. And I want to go back to the previous game because, and we both knew, GENG with that draft, with how that game was going, was like in 95% of the cases going to win.
Yeah.
But a lot of the plays were relatively even, and DK was able to hold on for a long time. So them getting an early lead is big as Chovy, thought he could get away with that, and then Lucid just flashed on top of him.
I'm not entirely sure what the thinking was, but the result, the result was not great.
Maybe
it was like
maybe he thought he could win the extended trade, and if Canyon's there earlier, then. Or he was really close to 6 and he thought he could like dash in, get a minion and scoop him back. I'm not sure. Might have just been a big goof.
Sneaky Canyon.
That's big though. 3 grubs is quite nice when you have champions like the Azir. It's no Tristana, but nothing is Tristana.
Extender Beam looking a little bit dangerous here, is now aiming in trouble. There's the knock-up. Still aiming just fine. Not a whole lot of damage here in this bottom lane right now. A lot of scuffling.
Oh, I like this. Immediately, the moment you get a lead, try to translate that to side. That's going to zone Lehens out of a lot of experience, King.
Here's the all-out. The trade of ultimates here between Kingen and Keen. Keen keeping close, and there's the flash out. Kingen having to play with a lot of respect. Seismic shove in this mid lane as well, as we have got fighting in every lane. And I think it's relatively even. The top side going much further in Keen's favor than I was expecting, though. Playing this matchup well is now... Let's see whether Lehens can keep himself safe, as now Lucid looks for the Winter's Wrath onto Pays. This minion wave getting dealt with, though, and in the meantime, on the top side, Kingen is going to be in trouble. Does get the stun onto Canyon, but he's not the one tanking, so that's going to be a beautiful dive.
Really big wins there for GENG. I actually think Lucid also tried to throw his ultimate. Pays did end up flashing, but that's a price you're going to be very happy to pay. Nicely set up there towards the top side of the map. And that mid-jungle 2v2, you know, Azir and Italy, that's not the greatest. Cassante, though, has so much CC that the setup really isn't that tough. Should be able to at least get a dragon here, but DK, they had quite a big gold lead, and between Lehens absorbing that bot side play, Pays not dying, them investing all the resources while the bot lane dive worked out for GENG, all of a sudden, we're looking at a situation where the gold is even. And, hey, another chance for Earth, Wind, and Fire, so that's something at least.
Hey, true. As we're going to check this one out one more time. Yeah.
Doesn't have flash, so it's very straightforward here. I don't think there's ever a situation where King gets out, and the moment the spear hits, he's dead. But yeah, again, I think realistically, if he had flash and ult, that's a completely different situation. Not going to be the case though. And I really, obviously that gank was really big, but kind of wondering as well what happened for Kingen to be so far behind in the CS, because this already happened pre-gank, right? Just in the 1v1. Keen.
Yeah, Keen has just been controlling the wave. The wave state has been very impressive. And
that's Lucid also, again, playing more towards the mid lane, playing more towards the bottom half of the map. Kingen is paying the price for that. So I don't think that that's just Keen being greater than 1v1. I also think that earlier on, right, Kingen had to back off because Canyon was expected and was, in fact, in the area.
Well, we are zooming. There it is, finally! We watched Kingen get a cannon.
Big.
Yeah, that's huge. So there's something.
Oh, always a value. You know, you can press W on a target and then Showmaker will murder them.
True.
So it's not bad.
And if Lucid does ever decide to head towards the top side of the map, if they ever find a stray cat up there, then they kind of die. The amount of permafrost value that you do get and the point-and-click stun from Renekton, it's going to be very, very dangerous. So it's not, you know, end of the world or anything like that, and there are opportunities for this Renekton to really start hitting his stride, but he's going to have to start relatively soon if he wants to stay relevant. We've seen it happen recently, where Renektons do just kind of never find that window and then continue to kind of do nothing. As Canyon, up here in the top lane, will be able to pounce on top of this Rift Scuttler, take that one down, look for a reset.
Yeah, that's another thing. Lucid has been, and Showmaker both really have been looking on the map, trying to make plays, which is why Chovy always gets leads, but why Canyon is such an insane CS lead. And Lucid, I think, you know, some of the time has been spent very nicely, but there's also been a lot of this, just a lot of meandering.
Yeah.
Sitting around, not really getting a whole lot going. And the timing on this dive, if they do decide to go for it, it's going to be crisp.
Yeah, there's the knock-up onto Kellen. He wasn't taking the turret, though, as there is another one. Lehen's going to flash into it, though, and not going to be able to send the ram back. Now, Pays finds himself alone. The spear is just barely going to go wide, and they'll back away. Pays keeps his life, but Canyon's unable to answer, and I say he keeps his life. Aiming still doing a fair bit of work here with these Qs and takes another plate for his trouble. Emperor's Divide, he skirts the rocks. And Showmaker's going to be fine. It's just a little bit of an exchange. And just trying to make the mid lane matchup look as exciting as the rest of the map.
Cool exchange nonetheless. We'll take it.
Yeah.
So mid lane, outside of that early kill, hasn't really had a whole lot going on. Lucid gets the window there. The hesitation from DK, I think, is understandable. Or diving Ornn in general is one of those things where, like, I'm sure we can do this, but if it backfires, we all die.
Yeah.
And they were able to pull it off. Nicely done there. The damage, I think, catching them a little bit off guard. This is looking like a 6-drop angle for GENG, though, with the control that Keen has had towards this top side. Lucid getting the kills also is somewhat suboptimal, you know? You don't really want the Sejuani to be the one picking them up. Aiming got a kill. If Showmaker got a kill, we'll be feeling a whole lot better about where that gold was going. And right now, I don't think Gen or DK rather are really getting the type of lead that they'd be ideally looking for. They have plenty of time.
Battle of the former teammates here is aiming, throwing some cues towards Lehens, but
that's big.
Kellen gets over a little bit late. Still, turret is going to be there. Pushing him away, and you can see aiming is actually, he was silently farming up in the last game and stuff like that, but never really found relevance. So I think the way that we're talking about it in this game, it's not feeling like the aiming inevitability situation exists quite as much, but it might. Still could stand a chance here as we check out, yeah, Lehens, not a lot of options.
Yeah, really big there as, oh, another one.
Yeah, there's a bit of deja vu coming on in here. The Glacial Prison comes down. It's Pays it's going to suffer the cost this time, as Lucid capable of tanking this one up for an age and a half. And now they'll take the turret as well. D+. Oh man, it's gone from good to better.
And this time, Aiming gets the kill. The Zeri getting more gold. And DK, this mid-game looking a whole lot better. The main question is, can they also turn it into a second dragon? That would be huge, particularly if we go towards a fun dragon. Please, Ox, pay attention. We would really like this.
We know that he's out. I mean, it was his fiance's birthday yesterday. Like, I don't think that there's going to be many options for him to sit at home and watch the LCK today. It's another Chemtech.
Okay, well then we'll just accept that.
Yep, just need to. His Spirit's going to connect onto Lucid, and he takes a fair bit of damage. Yeah. Was thinking about taking the Krugs, is maybe thinking about not taking the Krugs now and going home instead, and he is going to do exactly that.
Well, they're going to
Canyon will take the Drake, yeah.
And I think they already were planning as, oh, pick on Keen would be huge here.
Well, they're going to go for it. Extendo Beam is going to connect. Let's see whether Keen can get himself back to the turret. The all-out comes in.
There's like, nope.
They just say, well, we'll take that cooldown, and Aiming says money, and he is going to pick up the minion wave.
Yeah, try and get as many plates as possible as Aiming and Keen, former teammates.
Oh, and this is the
face-off
counter pick as well. Look at that, it's genius. As Lehens, he's going to bypass the turret, of course, does have, like, see? What did I tell you?
We already talked about it, it's fine.
Yeah. And yeah, Lehens very capable of just meeting up with Canyon in the jungle there, so even though he walks through the turret, things are absolutely fine. And Kingen uses that teleport to get down towards the bottom side, still about 20 CS behind. It's been the case for quite some time in this game. And Chovy also pulling ahead like 22 somehow in what looked like an even matchup in mid. I just, you know.
Yeah, it's Chovy. I'm just coping when it comes to Chemtech, by the way. I'm just like, you know, they got Lulu on one side. That's nice. They got Senna and Italy on the other.
Oh, the Primal Surge
That's value.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So DK already, I guess, knew, because they were like, no, we're not going to go for Drake, try to make a play towards topside instead, which will give them the prio necessary to make a play for this Herald. Definitely going to go their way. They already got the first turret blood, but it'd be really nice if they can break the mid lane turret. Because one of the issues that GENG do have is that a lot of their comp really doesn't come online until they hit the second item, until they hit the necessary levels in case of Lehens, and until they hit enough stacks in case of Pays.
Yeah,
so I think this is like the next 10 to 15 minutes are where DK have as relatively fed Zeri, a lot of explosive power, and don't be mistaken, if Kingen joins a fight, he will still be a menace. And it's also where they need to do something, because if you just, again, don't let GENG get to the point where they can straight up 5v5 you.
No. And I think GENG are probably going to be looking for D+ to start a bunch of these fights. The amount of engages, yes, you've got an Ornn and things like that, but a lot of it is a big investment for a lot of the engage options. And DK have like, we're going to throw a Glacial Prison at you, and we'll see whether that lands. And with the fact that Lucid picked up a couple of kills as well, he can sort of do it pretty relentlessly, as that Warmogs is going to be coming online a lot sooner than it otherwise would.
Maybe Kingen should invest in Warmogs as well.
Speaking of which, as Pays, he's going to be the one that face checks. Oh dear, that is a very dead center. Tries to get into the mist, but the mist is now a black and white screen. As Kellen's moving on over, they want even more here as the Glitterland slows him down. Kellen is just looking for more. The Emperor's Divide comes down though. The Sun Disc came in and Lehens is going to miss the ulti onto his former teammate. Aiming has downloaded. He knows now as the teleport is coming forward. Showmaker, he's now hiding in the brush. Looking for Canyon, looking for that window. Lucid's going to come in. There's the Weaver's Wall. And of course, Canyon's the one that they want. The pounce over the wall is going to be pretty nice there. So not going to be able to find too much still. D+, front foot forward, and you love to see it.
That's still 2 flashes for GENG. You'll take that for the teleport trade for sure.
I don't know whether you'll take this one, as now Keen going to be chasing after Showmaker. We'll move away. Okay.
And it's what we wanted to see. It's more proactiveness of Lucid coming up huge here. And I think Kellen, again, man, that guy loves to flash forward aggressively with the Lulu. not taking anything. And Paze and Lahens, who have been, I think, very consistent, are showing us why the Senna and really most Senna comps have really dropped in prior pretty sharply. Is if you do lose control of the game, like Pace shouldn't walk in there, obviously. Chovy also kind of had an inkling, which makes it all the more...
Yeah, Chovy's Spidey sense are a bit better than Pace, I guess.
Yeah, it's the experience, but they still both die, so it doesn't matter that much.
The experience didn't go as far as warning the young player that perhaps that was a bad idea.
You know, it's like, Pace, don't go in there, and then...
No, man, I'll be fine.
Oh.
All right. Is this a replay or is this Chovy once again? Okay, it just looks very similar to the last play.
We've had a lot of these deja vu moments in this game.
Glacial Prison up for Lucid, but not going to be throwing it at the Azir just yet.
The thing that keeps GENG very relevant when it comes to gold, though, is that while that was happening, Keen was able to pick up a bunch of waves toward topside. Keen was able to get a turret. So
this Cassante is one of the most farmed Cassantes I've seen in a really long time. And we know that Keen is the one guy that kind of just wins games by himself on it. As I say that, it might be the Caster Curse, or it might be the Blessing as he's going completely bananas onto aiming here. He gets over the wall, and now Keen has to deal with Lucid coming in with the fadeaway ulti, and that is the kill going over to Kingin.
Yeah, and I know he'd rather give it to him. I think it's a good call to kill.
I think just get rid of him.
Take him down, because that was like redemption 2 versus 1, and it was still looking a lot more close than I think you'd like that to be. Also, some much needed gold going into King, and no longer a handbag, and a really big pick there for DK. The timing of which is also great when it comes to contesting this dragon.
Exactly, has just spawned at this moment. GENG do have vision control in the area, and I believe Canyon has started this one up already. So it looks like DK, they're in our boat, you know, they're just a bit frustrated.
It's let it go, that's fine.
Drake, and so they'll let it go. They'll now look to grab some extra standing gold on this map.
It's also not soul points, so individual Drake, you're not really going to care too much. And
money for Kingin.
Oh, the Herald coming down as well. This inner will be big, and I love this. When you're playing a composition like this that is looking to generate as much advantages in mid-game as possible, gold is, it's less trustworthy than dragons. But if it works, it really does, as Lahens is just not having a very fun time, getting bullied. They get the inner, give him a dragon, but now the gold lead slowly getting bigger. Again, we're going to get to the point where the stacks kick in, where Lahens is going to start to dole out the ornaments, so don't be too fooled by the gold, but the map control, I think, is the big part. All these turrets falling is huge. Now all they need is that mid lane turret.
Yep, Lahens hitting that 2-item point like you were talking about there. Only 1 kill for GENG so far, but it does certainly still feel like they are very, very relevant in this game.
This is, look how small the gold lead is.
Yeah.
When it's 6-1.
This is not the same scaling as the last game. I think they keep scaling, even after the Nexus explodes with a composition like this.
Some would say.
Yeah. Still scaling, I think, from the last time they played this bottom lane.
You're not going to let it go, are
No,
you?
I'm not. I thought it was very funny. Okay, GENG. Set up for the mid lane push. Bit of a 4-1 situation here as Keen off to the side, teleport in hand. With Chovy here as well, they are very committed to trying to take down this turret, but you can see the wave clear pretty good for D+. Kellen taking a fair bit of damage, but he'll be all right.
Well, and they're right there. This is pre a lot of items actually being done. That's where GENG is looking towards, to the point where DK have no range, effectively. Like, when your most ranged character is a Talia.
Yeah, it's not a lot of range.
It's not. So, there we go.
There's the ulti from aiming. It's him by himself. He's just going to run up and murder Pace. Kingin getting the same treatment here on this bottom side, but he's giving a lot back. Canyon almost just dying as the Rams being thrown around willy-nilly. And D+, I think, should still be able to get this out of turret.
Bit of a disaster game here for Pace as he goes down yet again, aiming, going up big. And there isn't really a window, I think, for Nash here. Unfortunately, too many of the big damage dealers on GENG are still alive, but it's going to be the mid lane turret going down. And man, Kellen with that redemption, if that would have been if they kill Canyon there, that would have actually been Nash's. We take another look. Pace, he could have flashed, but I think he realized the moment he got skated on that he was just definitely going to die.
Yeah.
We see here, going towards the bottom half of the map, they make sure they punish King, but like between Starix as well as the redemption heal, if that was a second earlier, like...
I mean, yeah, Canyon would have been down to about 20 health on the back of that play. As the back did come through that from Canyon, getting some information. Doesn't actually take down the enemy red buff, as we can see, just gets some vision in the area. And now I believe we're going to turn our eyes towards this Baron. It's been up for about a minute and a half. And this is the aiming game that we kind of wanted to see in game number 1, right? A lot more relevant. Playing it into this composition, though, so much easier.
Yeah,
you mentioned like being completely outranged. I would take that in this game any day of the week over playing into Tristana's Ziggs Ivern.
It's also, it's going to be hard to play out, but you do make up for it.
King's gone for this 1v1. He's a level behind, but he's still playing.
Yeah, Showmaker STP as well.
There's the wall, and Keen gets the bad news. Let's see, the all-out going to be used onto the Taliyah here, but the stun is still going to come on down. Sterix is massive, and the threaded volley to finish it off. And there's another kill, now 3 over to this Renekton, who's feeling a lot more relevant as the game goes on.
Really like this play, because with double TP, there isn't a window. They will still have to give up mid lane turret, maybe to TP!
Yeah, Glacial Prison comes in onto Canyon. Redemption is decent. It's true! Now both of them getting into the mid lane. Chovy's out of there, but I don't think Lehens is going to be so lucky. In fact, the whole bottom lane is getting wiped out. Pays once again suffering as the dash forward. Lucid going to pick that one up. And with 3 dead on the side of GENG, it's going to need to be some Canyon heroics to save this Baron play.
DK GENG Atlas.
Oh, it always delivers. There was no doubt in our minds.
Oh, the damage. Chovy's full health. I don't know if they can do this.
They are not. I think they're not going to test the waters this much. As Keen, he's teleported in. Chovy wants it. Empress Divine onto 3. And he goes golden as well. Canyon has to get out of there. The seismic shove is just as good. And he takes down the Zeri. Chovy almost falling for it as the spear will take down one. And Kellen, oh man, he just takes that Dawning Shadow from downtown. And now it's GENG's turn.
Those Baron buffs a couple of patches ago. GENG says thank you. As, DK, just a little bit too early. They don't have the health bars.
I love this vision toggle, though, as they haven't started up the Baron just yet. There it goes now, as all 5 are in the area. Yeah, they need to get Lucid out of here.
I don't think it's happening. I think that's going to be the Baron going over to GENG instead. Oh, DK, it was looking so good until it wasn't.
Yeah, until it absolutely wasn't. And DK, they realize they're not going to be able to do it here. You can see Showmaker a little bit disappointed, but I think not feeling like they're out of this game just yet. But with the gold lead shifting in GENG's favor, with the fact that Ornn and Senna exist, even though they've fallen behind, it doesn't stop them from scaling to infinity. Oh,
the double TP to come in here, but you do see they actually have a tough time. Chovy just gets off without any issue. If he maybe has to flash, there might be a bit more of an angle. And then I understand they get the kills. They want to try and go for the play as I think they know.
Yeah, there's a Ram coming in as well. As speaking of Ram, he is going to head right on top of Kellen. Canyon looking for him though. The Wild Growth is going to keep the Lulu alive. Actually buys a lot of time here for D+. Showmaker, he'll get cornered. He's the sacrificial Taliyah in this one. Sterix shield going to get popped there by Chovy. And D+, I can feel the collapse in these last 2 moments.
Oh, GENG. They haven't lost a single game yet in the LCK. This
not
summer,
looking like
they're not
starting.
looking like they're beginning. Lucid with the attempt.
All right, let's see whether he gets on in there. It's aiming. All right, there's the double knockback from Keen as Lucid's the one pulled in. Oh, Keen, I think he wanted the Zeri on that one. But Chovy is doing Chovy things. He's in the side lane and he's taking down the junglers. Let's check this out one more time as Chovy finds 4. Oh, it was 3 and a flash.
Jelly.
Even with the flick back there from Showmaker, just don't have the damage. What a play, using the stopwatch, and then here, attempt at finding one of those messy skirmishes. You know, in theory, I think this can actually work out, but you see there, Lehens just break open the wall, just waddle through without an issue, in Canyon, another great stopwatch, because if he ends up dying and aiming, you know, can keep on going, maybe that's enough, but it's not going to be the case. And Taliyah, her one weakness is if you do get on top of her, she doesn't have a whole lot of counter argument. Just gets blown up. And the kill score is still there. The gold, it's not enough by itself, but I do feel like we've turned the corner, Atlas and DK. Now we're going to have to find Miracle Team Fight if they do want to beat GENG here. And is this going to be the 4th out of 14? Where 0 is added?
We have to remember as well when round 2 swings around, we have this matchup very, very early. You guys saw it on the calendar that we brought up in the pre-show, but if you weren't there for that one, we have GENG versus D+, the rematch in round 2, very, very soon. It's in like a couple of matches time for both of these teams. So very, very cool stuff. It's not the last chance for D+ to find some revenge.
As yeah, the upgrade comes through for Chovy. We haven't talked about this.
Yeah, they killed Baron, and then Chovy went and got a cooler tooth, I think, from the Baron when they did that. That's like the canon of this game.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Very, very cool. There is it's just great how that kind of works. The Ornn, not really that important.
He wasn't involved in this.
Oh,
no.
Speaking of important, he was upset about me saying that and throws a ram. They're not really going to find too much
He's
more.
just fishing.
Yep.
Looking like the Abyssal Mask as well with the heavy amount of AP damage they have. Yeah, bounties are up. So that really says all that you need to know about the game state. And it's going to feel very reminiscent of game number 1. I do think that compositionally, there's a little bit more of an opportunity because there are a lot of members that are very easy to take down if you can find them. Canyon's being a big one. But Lucid is also himself in some dangerous territory, as the banana brush control belongs to him. Can they kill the hands?
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be huge.
He doesn't have Call of the Forge God. He is going to be able to bellow his breath and try and get himself out of the way, but the Seismic Shove is decent still. He's just so incredibly tanky. Teleport going to be invested from King, and Lucid not really taking that much, but they threw everything into an Ornn who just wandered away casually.
And now we're getting to the point where like the heals from Canyon, the heals from Pays are so
The
relevant.
value of the Chemtech dragons.
No.
Oh,
Atlas.
healing and shielding power. I will never underestimate you again, at least until the next time there is a Chemtech Drake on the Rift.
No, we are actually gonna suffer through this eternity where we just like, no, and then we see it and we're like, eh.
Yeah.
Still no.
The one man that could help us has left us forsaken here today. I'll be commentating with him tomorrow, though, so I'll try and make sure that he just does his bit.
We did this in game number 1. We're bringing it back. DK, how do win?
How do win?
How do win? Get
kill old GENG.
Yeah, okay, well,
and
I'm trying
their Nexus.
I know you know that I'm trying to formulate a bit more of a coherent Atlas.
I didn't know that.
Yes, yes, you do.
Round 2?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Round Robin 2 is the way they beat GENG?
No, I don't want any more. Maybe it is round 2.
No, I think there are some angles. I don't think they're out of this one just yet. I think that Lucid, if he finds you know, that flank angle, if they manage to pop a key target, I think they just need to kill Chovy. If they kill Chovy in these fights, like in the next one, execute Chovy first. I don't think Pays has the damage yet to be able to fight back. Maybe that's it.
Even though we are infinitely scaling in this one, I don't think we're going to hit that. So that's one. You need to have the Infinity Edge for aiming. He's insanely strong right now. The main issue is that with double stopwatch available, I think normally you play this combat like pseudo pick comp, right? You find one target and then you blow them up. As Showmaker did finish his Crypt Bloom, is still a full item behind. But it is actually so hard. Chovy's level 18 with 4 items, Mercs and stopwatch. Canyon, 3 items, Mercs, stopwatch. Pays has Edge of Night and both summoners available, so for DK, it's so insanely hard. Atlas, like maybe the angle is actually what we've seen before, like Keen overestimates how tanky he is and you just go on whoever is first in line and hope that that's enough.
I mean, they can kill whoever's first in line very quickly. Pays, like you aiming, like you said, has 4 items.
Yeah, Flip Nash. Yep. Why not? You have to.
I mean, that's bounty gold as well. You take those. Aiming with his very new, very cool-looking sword is going to be pretty dangerous. Seismic Shove going to be eaten by the CC reduction from Keen. And now, King in a whole host of trouble. There's the Ram, gets a couple of knockups onto Lucid and Kellen. DK still kind of holding their ground, but GENG are unrelenting. Showmaker taking so much damage, Dawning Shadow over everyone, and it's a bloodbath! It's decimation! And the Zeri is just escorted to the side and blown up. It's unceremonious, and it's looking like GENG will just plow through D+ today. There's the Ace. Canyon looks really cool as he goes golden, wins the animal battle on the top side, and that's going to be it.
And the undefeated round robin yet again closer for GENG, Atlas.
Chovy didn't use ult, he just celebrated with it on the Nexus. Oh man, GENG demonstrating they're not even at full power as they eliminate the second Nexus of the Saturday Showdown. And they will remain undefeated here in the LCK. Aiming and Lahen's having a bit of a hug there as well. Of course, former teammates on KT. There are a lot of former teammates between these two squads, of course. But really good to see that camaraderie.
It's so telling that in a game number 2, a lot of what we wanted was actually given to us by DK. More proactive play, but again, it feels like these games always follow the same pattern where Showmaker, Lucid, they make stuff happen, aiming slowly gets fed. But GENG is like, yeah, we're not bothered, we're just going to keep on farming. Every play, someone's farming inside wave. Every single play, it's fine, we're getting a turret. And then, when you get to the team fight, you don't have the lead that you think you do. And GENG's team fighting is pretty good.
I don't know what this is, but
Canyon
I like
carry. He did.
He did. Yeah, had a fantastic game. And GENG looking really, really good. As we said, they're going to have to do it again against D+ in round robin 2. We'll see whether they can. Don't have to wait too long for it. But right now, I feel like it's looking a little bit like a...
The only thing standing between GENG and an undefeated round robin...
Some noodles.
...is noodles!
Oh. And I think also D+ don't have the most difficult opposition in their next matchup as well. And so I think the next time we see these two teams, it'll be after some like dominant wins and we'll be like, yeah, and then it'll be GENG that just crushed them again.
There's been a whole lot of that going on.
Yeah.
I think it's... Is this a sign that maybe we can have not GENG T1 this summer?
Is this a sign that top esports are the best team in the world?
It's a lot of questions.
Is this a sign that T1 are the best team, top esports are the best? I don't know. So, where does the triangle end?
I don't know.
There's an Ouroboros problem happening here.
There's too many questions for us to answer. We're about simple casters, but this one, DK played a much better game than game number 1. I think that the draft felt a lot more playable. And up until this point, they were playing great. Yeah, there were some moments that maybe they weren't up to par, but it was a kind of a spring game for GENG where Pays and Lands were actually struggling.
Yeah.
GENG really got caught off guard, and then Chovy said, what if we just won the game instead?
Yeah.
And then they did. And this... Like, genuinely, I love the buffs they did to Baron. The fact that Baron is an actual threat now for a much larger part of the game, I think feels good. Unfortunately, feels bad if you're a fan of D+.
Exactly. Bit off a little bit more than they could shoot, because if they had just gone back for a reset, then it would have been, you know, an honest matchup, and they could have tried to jostle a little bit more. But
I get it, but I think,
yeah, there is a little bit of that desperation factor, and this is just a blender. Wait for it, and Lahen's flash knockup. Yeah, it's just...
They read them like a book as well.
They did.
That fight started with Keen already setting up his Q, knowing that King was going to come out of the brush.
I think that's Lahen's making a few excuses for the early game, perhaps, saying sorry to Pays, or maybe saying, Pays, can you say sorry to everyone else? Not entirely
might
sure.
be both, knowing Lahen's.
You can see Chovy and Canyon find it very, very funny as they just eliminate the Nexus. Oh, Lahen's. Never change. Never change. And yeah, aiming did a lot of damage, and there wasn't very much of it that was relevant.
DK gonna have to change up that draft priority list. That is the takeaway. I think this game 2 was a lot more playable, but it still feels like this isn't the angle that's gonna get you to win against GENG in the round 2 of this series, which is, as we mentioned, in only, I think, a week's time.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna see something a little bit more wacky, but for today, GENG stays undefeated.
They certainly do, and it's looking like that may continue. Now it is time for us to throw it back over to the space for them to break down the 2-0 for GENG. Will it stop, boys? Will it stop?
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the POG interview translation, joined by Canyon and Chovy on the side of GENG, who defeated D+ Kia in Week 4 of Saturday Showdown. Congratulations! Thank you. So GENG gets to keep their winning streak. How does it feel to defeat D+ Kia again? I feel like we've always won against D plus Kia, but we've always went to a full three-game series, so I'm really glad about getting this clean 2-0 today. And Canyon, with 600 points, you are tied for first place in the POG standings. And you got 6 POGs with unique champions. So how do you feel? I feel like it's quite meaningful that I was able to get all the POGs with different champions, and I hope that I am able to keep it up and get even more. And Chovy, today's Saturday showdown against C plus Kia was a battle between first and second place. And with so many narratives involved, how did you prep for today? So we tried to break down what kind of champions the enemy prefers. And regarding the macro play, we were very aware of how they really focus on their side lane games and side lane controls. So I think that actually did help a lot, just analyzing the team. And Canyon, a lot of trash talk towards you. Were you concerned about it at all? Yeah, I mean, I had that in mind while coming into the game today, but I tried my best to focus in game today. And we heard that the players got involved to redo and make get a new read on the tier list. So can you walk us through what that was like? So throughout our experience during the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia, it felt like we were struggling a lot because we had a really inadequate read on the tier list. So I think we got back up saying, as long as we get a better read on the tier list, then it would make our gameplay a lot better. And Canyon, in Game 1, you took Ivern with Tristana, and this was your first Ivern this summer, and you had an amazing sustain. So what is the biggest strength of Ivern and Tristana comp? I feel like Ivern, just like you said, has really good sustain, and he really enables Tristana's ability to carry the game. And you guys had such a powerful team fighting. Let's take a look at this replay. And you guys pulled off such an impeccable ace at the right time. So what is the key to Ivern's bush play? So being able to set up some bushes near the pit, it denies their vision. And I think the biggest strength is being able to sort of output some damages. And I feel like being able to take that hit in the Esports World Cup actually made me realize and learn a lot about Ivern as well. And Chovy, in Game 2, in the drafting phase, despite the Renekton being open, you guys took Cassante and also Senna and Ornn, which was such an unpredicted pick. So could you walk us through what led to those picks? So because of how great Keen is at the laning phase, we weren't really concerned that he was going to lose lane. And I believe that Renekton, his presence actually tends to disappear as long as the game goes further. So in the late game, we realized that Renekton can't really do much in the end. So that's why we took Cassante instead. And regarding the Azir, Azir is really essential in the comp that we made. Especially against Talia when we were able to disable the Talia. So I think that's why we were able to confidently get that Azir pick. And this moment, you had an insane super shuffle. So without any vision, how are you able to engage? I knew that my teammates told me that a lot of the enemy's abilities were baited out and they wasted it, so I was able to go in pretty confidently. And I actually did predict, it was like a prediction ult, but it went through so well, even better than I actually expected. And if you defeat Nongshim 2-0 next, it will be LCK's first undefeated round robin without dropping a game. And you're also one game away from achieving the longest winning streak in the regular season. So what is your resolution, Canyon? As we have been doing so far, I want to make sure that we are prepared for the next match, and we'll make sure that we bring you a great game. And Chovy, Honestly, whenever I tell myself where I'm too wary about some sort of an achievement or milestone, I feel like I tend to make more mistakes. So I want to focus on doing well in the next match. And that's the end of the interview from Canyon and Chovy. And back to the space. Thank you.